Well, the T thing definitely was like, I felt bad for him. I actually felt bad for him. And now he's going through the whole sale of reasonable doubt. He offered to throw in a chain if someone bids $10 million, which to me is like throwing in an air freshener when you buy a new car.
No, it depends. Because, there's probably billionaires out there that love the whole Roc-A-Fella movement. That would, that's nothing.
But that won't make you bid an extra couple million just to get the chain. The chain is not worth.
It wasn't an extra million. It was anyone that goes up to 1.5 was it?
No, he said 10 million.
10 million.
He said whoever bids over 10 million. And let me tell you something. Just to see, because I'm not an expert at this. I don't own any music. So I don't know how much music generates. But I talked to a friend of mine who used to be the president of the biggest publishing company in America. Good friend of mine. And I said, if you were just to eyeball how much Reasonable Doubt, like his 1/3 share of Reasonable Doubt makes in a year, what would you say? He said, well, if he also owns the publishing, in the best case, maybe $1 million a year. Maybe. With Jay-Z announcing that 5 years from now, he's going to get the rights back to it anyways.
Right.
The max you could probably get from that ownership is maybe $5 million. So my guess, and me and Esquino were kind of like, talking about this in our last interview, I would say that the winning bid is probably going to be between $2 and $3 million.
All right. So now let me ask you, if I have rights to that album, am I able to sample it, use it, flip it in any way that
you have 1/3 rights to the album. There's also samples that are used on it. There's also producers.
Right.
And so forth. So if you could sample it, and then you got to give everyone else who's associated with the rights to that music their payment as well. Just because you have 1/3 of it doesn't mean you could use it for yourself as much as possible. See what I'm saying?
I'm trying to think of what would be the way that you could.
It's really just bragging rights. Oh, I own a piece of Reasonable Doubt. Because you remember he said that Drake reached out, but clearly the number that Drake wanted to pay is not what he wanted to sell for. My guess is about $2 to $3 million.
$2 to $3 million?
That's what's going to be the winning bid. And honestly, I don't know why anyone would even buy it, considering that 5 years from now, you're going to own none of it.
Well, of course, if Drake reaches out after, we heard about this, I don't know when he did.
Yeah.
But we heard about this after the Super Bowl announcement. So is this a tit for tat thing? Oh, you fucking with my enemies, so I'm gonna go holler at yours, and just look petty. Let's look petty. Let's look petty. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, whoever buys it has no effect on Jay-Z in 5 years because of
he gets it right back.
He gets it right back.
And then whoever buys it,
they'll just get royalties for those 5 years. And that's it. That's it. It's not really much of a buyout. Let me put it like this: I wouldn't buy it.
Now,
I wouldn't pay for it.
Why do you think no one's bought it yet?
Well, I don't know if the bidding has actually officially started yet. I don't know how it works. Is there a cutoff time? Do you have to reach a certain floor? Whatever else. I think it's a court-ordered auction.
Right.
So I don't know how it works because it's being used to cover a lawsuit that he lost.
That's 870 something thousand.
Something like that. And obviously, Dame wants as much as he can out of it because he also owes, I think he said, $8 million in taxes and stuff like that. Man, listen, like I said, someone that knows both me and Dame are trying to get us on the phone, because the last time we spoke was about like 7 or 8 years ago. It was a text back and forth that got a little heated, but not to the point of being overly disrespectful. And then he decided to publicly talk about it. So I decided to publicly talk about it. And we've been going kind of tit for tat, publicly talking about each other since then. But it's not a big deal. Like, it's not any sort of real beef. Right. He actually has, if he would like to come back to Vlad TV, he could do it. And he could talk about whatever he wants to talk about. I'll run it all. I'm not going to cut it out. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, two grown men working it out, makes for good content, and it sends a positive message out to everyone that we don't have to just keep talking shit about each other on the internet. We could actually sit down face to face, and we could talk about where each other's problems are. Because, for example, with me, I know where my fault was. The fault was something had happened with Jay-Z, and I said, hey, do you want to do an interview talking about that? And he said, why would I talk about another man? And then he turned around and did the video, and I kind of took it overly personal. Hey, man, I thought you said, you don't want to talk about it. And then he's like, well, I don't have to check in with you when I want to talk about it. And it turned it back and forth. It was me being childish.
Yeah.
And me being in my feelings.
You were being bratty.
Me being bratty.
I thought you were going to give me the interview.
Yeah, exactly. and listen, there's lots of situations over the years where I've gotten way too emotional about interviews and stuff like that because...
Well, that's part of your passion, right?
It's part of my passion. I think what people don't realize is that, like, for a lot of people, they have their real job, their real career, and on the side, they do interviews, for some extra promo, stuff like this. This is my whole life.
Right.
I'm looking at it differently than you're looking at it. Right. Not you, but just people in general.
Right.
So I'm going to take it more personally. I'm going to be more emotional. I'm going to be more immature. I'm going to be more petty. Right. Then you're looking at this going, what's the big deal? It's just an interview. Well, no, this is everything. This is my legacy. This is what I built my fortune on. Like, this is what I leave behind for future generations. So yeah, I was immature when it came to Dame. If he wanted to talk about Jay on his own, he has all the rights in the world to do that. And I apologize for my behavior.
All right.
And then he did what he did.
So basically, and I've been saying this, you guys don't really have a problem. You just need a conversation.
No, not at all. But I've been saying this.
Right.
Yeah, and if Dame wants an apology, I'm apologizing to Dame for my part in the initial conflict. You could say that I started it.
Right.
But then when he went public with it, then I felt like he took it to a place that it didn't need to go either. We could have just worked it out privately as men. We didn't have to be chatty patties, like he liked to say,
Yeah.
And that's where I feel that his mistake was, but it's really not that big of a deal. No one lost money. No one got hurt. No one talked about each other's families and said nasty things about kids or your significant other, or I'm not saying I'm gonna smoke your homie's dead pack or something stupid like that. Like, what I mean? Like, I didn't talk about Aaliyah because I understand how important of a person that was in his life. I would never, try to diminish that or use that as a way to hurt him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was just, I'm gonna talk shit about Vlad and I'm gonna talk shit about Dave. This has been going on for like 8 years. We've never run into each other, never seen each other in person.
No nothing.
And like I said, but I apologize for my part in it. I kind of started it.
Right.
I admit to it.
But you said you feel sorry for him now.
Seeing him with no teeth made me feel sorry for him. Yeah. We should all have teeth. It's a statement about our current health as we get into our 50s.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Every year that as you get into your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, it becomes more and more important to maintain your health. For example, have you ever seen an obese 70-year-old? No, you have not.
No, I haven't. Wow.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, real shit. That weight will probably knock you off before you hit 70.
When you look at most rappers who have the name big, heavy, large, fat in their names, they don't make it past their 50s.
It's not true.
Rest in peace, Fat Man Scoop.
Large Professor. Gotcha.
Yeah, but he's not talking about his actual physical size. Right. People have those names that talk about their actual physique.
Right.
Heavy D.
I
2/3 of the fat boys. Big Pun died in his 20s.
Listen.
All from weight.
At a certain age, you start to, I don't know if it happened with you yet. You start to feel just different shit in your body. You know what I mean? You get more in tune with it. Recently, I had a scare. I was waking up in the middle of the night and my stomach would be out to here.
Huh.
And I had to go talk to a specialist, and they kind of broke things down to me. At a certain age, you just got to protect your gut and be very mindful of your stomach. Your stomach is like, your second brain. And you got to be careful what you put in. If you're going to put a lot of bullshit in here, don't put a lot of bullshit in here either. So, and I remember, like, throughout the years, just losing friends that went into the hospital, rest in peace, PH, with a stomach ache and never came out. You really do have to be very mindful. For everybody that's watching right now, like, be mindful, man. Really think about this shit. Like, the stuff that you're putting in your system, some of that stuff is still sitting in there.
Yeah.
From like 10 years ago. Now think about that. Would you eat food that was sitting out for 10 years? But imagine that just sitting in your gut and what it's doing to the lining of your stomach, your intestines, and all that shit. Bro.